You are getting ready to watch something unique in the entire world.
What if this was a perfect world?
Imagine a world where trans was completely understood.
Imagine a world where we were respected just for being who we are.
Imagine a world where we are not targets of violence and discrimination.
Imagine a world where radical conservatives didn't use transgender issues to try and win elections.
To understand this perfect world, it looks like we will need translation. Good evening and welcome to Translation, the world's first trans show by the community educating our allies. It's 9 p.m. Monday, June 14th. I'm Tony Lima, CEO of Ariana Center, Trans Latina, Florida. We are proud to sponsor this groundbreaking broadcast coming to you from South Florida to our American and worldwide audience. We need your support. Please help us as this is the first show in the world to include a complete cast of trans voices. And speaking of those trans voices, let's meet our cast. Let's welcome Misty Eyez. She is a Director of Transgender Services, Education and Training, and Women's Services at SunServe, one of America's most important nonprofit LGBTQ healthcare service providers. Good evening, Misty.
Good evening, Tony. Now, let's welcome Camille Lewis. She is the founder of Transluminati program and is the Empowerment Program Manager for Empower You. Good evening, Camille.
Good evening. Let's welcome Rajee Narinesingh. She's an institutional name made famous on countless reality TV appearances, including East Botched. She is a transgender activist, actress, spiritualist, author, and the outreach advocate for Trans Social, one of the nation's most important trans advocacy organizations. Good evening, Rajee.
Good evening, great to be here. Let's welcome Schaffer Zaret. Schaffer is new in her transitional process. She is the development director for Pride Lines, one of Florida's most important LGBTQ plus advocacy and service providers for LGBTQ youth. Good evening, Schaffer.
Good evening. And let's welcome Ariana Lint, well-known international Latinx trans activist, openly living with HIV, and president and founder for Ariana Center. Ariana Center is one of the most important trans-focused service and advocacy organizations in our nation. The nonprofit focuses on the services for trans women of color, trans men, and gender nonconforming people in Florida, in Puerto Rico, and the South. Ariana is also one of the foremost advocates across the country focused on ending the HIV epidemic. Good evening, Ariana.
Ole!
On that note, so good evening again, America. Let's dive right into translation.
We begin with a breaking news bulletin we call Trans Alert. Burger King declares war on anti-LGBTQ Chick-fil-A using a chicken sandwich. The chicken sandwich war took a political turn this week after renewed calls were made over social media to boycott Chick-fil-A. Burger King took it as an opportunity to show its solidarity with the LGBTQ community. Chick-fil-A CEO Dan Cathy was identified last week as one of the donors of the National Christian Charitable Foundation, which has a history of funding opposition to the Equality Act. Chick-fil-A has been under the chicken sandwich hot lamp for years and for anti-trans political and corporation positions. But for the last year, they have continually suggested they wish to embrace the LGBTQ community, and they have stopped supporting hate groups. The new revelations suggest that they have continued to secretly fund these hate groups to defeat the Equality Act. Burger King, which recently launched the Chicken sandwich, tweeted this week, it was Chicken. They want to make money off this sandwich. Tweeted this week, it will donate 40 cents for every chicken sandwich sold in June, which would be Pride Month, up to $250,000 or 625,000 sandwiches to the Human Rights Campaign. It was a clear sign it wished to draw distinction between Burger King and the Chick-fil-A chain.
I tasted them. They're delicious.
Are they just as delicious?
Well, no. But
doesn't it feel better?
Well, yeah, because I was like, going through some stuff here, not being able to go to Chick-fil-A anymore because I'm like, the chicken is so good, but like, do I really support these folks?
Well, call me what you want. That's some of the best hatred
I
chicken you can
know.
ever.
Chow down at Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A have some of the best hatred chicken you could ever eat. I was actually looking on Uber Eats today, and I was like, to eat Chick-fil-A or not to eat Chick-fil-A. And the only reason why I didn't get Chick-fil-A was 70 minutes out on Uber Eats. I
okay.
did not eat that hatred chicken.
Well, let me tell you this. When I go through the drive-thru of Chick-fil-A, whenever I do, I proudly go through. And when I get to the window, I'm like, hi.
Do you use your man voice?
I lost that voice years ago. I don't know.
But the key point is Burger King now, so we have to support Burger King.
I'll try,
and
but
call my
give me
40
friends.
cents, girl. 40 cents.
And I love that they're putting the money back. Into
You're
the
paying it
community.
forward by going to Burger King now.
Human
Now they
Rights
have a spicy
Campaign,
chicken deluxe.
send me my chicken.
Chicken.
But Ariana's exactly right. Like, this has been such an amazing opportunity for Burger King to really show their solidarity with all of us.
Yeah.
It's the first time that any of these fast food companies do something like this. So I'm excited about trying this chicken. Am I saying it right?
I don't know.
Sandwich.
I'm not the expert. Chicken.
At Translation, we will follow an amusing social media trans story. One is #TransLOL. These are tweets, memes, or other interesting moments created by trans people about the trans community. Tonight's Trans People Are Funny #TransLOL is called But I Am a Woman. What do we think, ladies?
Oh my God.
I think this is transphobic. I don't like it.
I don't like it either because it can go in two different many directions. I'm sorry.
I
don't
never
like it.
forget. I was on a plane flying somewhere, and I was with a good trans girlfriend of mine, and she's what I guess the community would consider passable. So there was a trans woman that got on, and she literally said to me, she says, "Oh my God, she's ugly, but no one can tell she's trans." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I mean, that's I guess that's an okay way to look at it. I mean, for us, that's the question. It's like, do you as
Passable
trans
doesn't mean pretty.
That's I think the whole point of the meme is that in a Pirates of the Caribbean kind of way, Jack Sparrow, it's saying like, well, you called me ugly. He called me ugly, but at least he said I was a woman.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes if the girls get too done and a little too perfect,
can get
and they're like,
Oh,
oh my God, she's setting, and you're staring at her for 20 minutes because she's unbelievably gorgeous, and then you start getting into it, maybe she's clocky that way, but I don't know, I don't like it.
But
I'm not a big
does
fan of
not
that
mean
one.
passable.
That is true.
I love that this meme, when we went through this earlier, you were all like, we don't like this meme, but look at the great conversation that is conjured about being passable and not being passable. These are the issues that we want to cover here on Translation.
And the end is, you can be the most possible transgender or the most ugly transgender. You have the same discrimination and the same bad times with different people.
If they know
agree.
you are,
Yes.
that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Know
The
you
most
are.
prettiest woman that's trans will instantly become a man once they find out your tea.
Yeah.
Yes.
You will go from being death-dropping, undeniably beautiful, dates, numbers, phone calls, but the minute they find out you're a man, you're
How dare you?
I was just going to
My
say,
apologies. Because if they find out you're transgender, you're instantly a man.
I was just going to say, like, how lucky am I as a cisgender gay guy sitting up here with all of these stunning, beautiful
Thank you,
women?
darling.
Like, really.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your beauty, let alone your activism. And Misty, you're continuing for us.
If we are going to truly explore the trans community, we must also focus on the news. We will bring you the most important news of the week in our segment called Trans is the News.
Trans is the news. New ranking shows the top states for LGBTQ plus inclusivity. Spoiler alert, Florida didn't make the list. Out Leadership, a global LGBTQ plus business advisory that helps companies advance LGBTQ plus equality, has released its third annual State LGBTQ plus Business Climate Index for 2021, ranking states based on how inclusive and protective they are of members of the community. New York State achieved the top ranking this year, dethroning Massachusetts, which lost points in hate crimes protections and HIV criminalization categories, while South Carolina ranked last. Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, and Vermont were in the top 5, while Arkansas, Louisiana, South Dakota, and Tennessee rounded out the bottom of the list. Of special note, most of the top equality states were in the Northeast and West, and most of the worst equality states were in the South. Florida was a disappointing 28 in the new ranking. The tidal wave of new anti-LGBTQ plus and especially trans hate bills by Southern state houses will likely keep the South in the cellar on business equality for 2022.
Is this surprising, ladies?
No.
Not from Florida. Not at all.
When we live in South Florida, we are surrounded by very educated and cultured individuals, and we are surrounded by a lot of other LGBTQ brothers and sisters and siblings. But when we leave Miami and Fort Lauderdale or Dade and Broward and we go to Central Florida or North Florida, it is sketch. The redneck comes out. I sometimes, girl, I had to perform in Jacksonville and I had to stop for gas and I was so scared.
Yeah, definitely. I remember when I went up to Tallahassee with Ariana, and you too, Tony. And you know, it's funny. I would say South Florida is the most liberal part of the state, and when you live here, it's easy to just kind of get comfortable in the bubble, for lack of a better word. And driving up, it was like, oh my God. And we stopped at some places, and I'm like, oh wow, this is America.
Right.
Like, you know, this is also
Real
America.
America.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that trip, Rajee, because it was the first time, and that was last year.
Yeah.
Right?
It was
2019.
You know, it was in
Yeah.
2020. It was
was
January of 2020.
before
Oh, you're
they
right, you're
shut
right.
everything
And we
down.
went into Tallahassee with 20 trans women of color, and people didn't know what hit them. Right? It was the first time.
They weren't ready.
They weren't ready. It was the first time that people that looked and sounded like our beautiful trans community were in Tallahassee talking to legislators.
Yeah.
We made
which
a
gave a
statement.
great, we did, we made a statement. Shay,
We
you
did
were
it
just going to
virtually
say.
this year.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
and think about the
That's
places
powerful.
where business equality makes sense and where it's profitable. And when you see the places that ranked low and at the bottom of the list, like Arkansas, Tennessee,
Yes.
those are not places where people are pounding down the door saying you should be, you know, fight for my rights.
Yeah.
Equality means
Right.
business kind of thing, and so it's really not surprising. And I don't think it'll change, especially going into an
But
election
wherever
year.
we go, with Rajee, everybody asks for autograph. For everybody. Everybody knows Rajee, and everybody wants to take a picture with you. So
Oh, you're sweet. Well, remember when we were in like North Carolina at some like off the beaten path gas station, and this lady came up to me, an older woman, and it was like, oh wow, okay, there's some liberal supportive people here.
My mom came to my wedding, and she saw Rajee, was one of my bridesmaids, and she was like, did I see her on TV?
Yes.
Like, I don't know what you watch, Mom.
But you know what's interesting, ladies, that this is why we do the work that we do, especially
Visibility.
in a
Right.
state
Yes.
like Florida. So Rajee's star power, all of your star power really helps us with the work that we do. And that's why we're doing shows like Translation, to have these conversations, to educate, because the bottom line is that we have to educate people to bring down those barriers of ignorance.
Well, let's keep it real. Who can forget this face?
Oh, we love that
love that
face.
face.
We love that face.
Trans is the news. Facebook's top post this week: Ron DeSantis banning trans athletes on first day of Pride. There is a surprise this week. Facebook's most popular post this week was significant praise for Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis signing on controversial bill banning trans female athletes from playing girls and women's sports, which drew further outrage from LGBTQ plus activists for its timing on the first day of Pride Month. Evangelical leader Franklin Graham, who is one of the most popular conservatives on Facebook, posted a Fox News link to a story about the bill, thanking DeSantis for his actions. His praise of the Republican governor became top-performing link-based post on the platform since May 30th. According to data from CrowdTangle, an analytical tool owned by Facebook, so far it's received 500,000 reactions, 40,000 shares, 35,000 comments. The popularity of the post is a reflection of the political skew of Facebook, which consistently sees conservative-leaning sources outperforming mainstream news sites. The popularity of the most criticism of the law among Facebook's top trending gives LGBTQ and trans communities some of insights into social media sites is engaged, and the news reading audience sides in the ongoing debate over transgender athletes participating in sports. The Graham post, for example, had fewer than 400 users reacting to either an angry or a sad emoji to the article.
Can you repeat, please?
Shade.
What do we think about this?
This is a clear indicator that he is positioning. And he has a very key player. Franklin Graham is a very key player in the whole political game. And if he's going to do a tweet or a retweet or a story about DeSantis, he's playing the game, and it's working.
Yeah.
And just a few weeks ago, he signed his big tech legislation into law, where Facebook can't remove an elected official or someone running for office from Facebook.
Wow.
So, like you said, he's positioning himself and his ideas and all this radical thinking so that it can't be censored.
And also we have to take serious because, the political or the Republicans in Florida right now, they're looking in these laws and this anti-discrimination for transgender. They know they keep attention from the conservative place and it's a trampoline for them. So that's why we make these kind of shows to help, to looking for help from the community, because we cannot do alone. We cannot go there and talking easily, but maybe some people, they can watching us, they can help us in working together, and this is the purposes.
Do we have a message for Governor DeSantis? Does anyone want to look straight at the camera and give our governor a message?
Well, first of all, we're human beings. Like, hello.
Yeah.
We're human beings. And every time I hear stories like this, it's like we take 3 or 4 steps forward and then 2 steps backward. It's like this tug of war. But I think these are the very things that have to continue to invigorate our community, to keep steadfast in, our civil rights movement.
And I don't understand why Facebook don't ban these kind of comments, right? Because actually, I make a comment just for one restaurant and they put me in the jail for 2 hours.
Okay, wait, now
hello.
Let's not get into Facebook, because I think we trans women especially have to be very careful when we post things
Yes,
on Facebook,
yes.
because we're watched.
Next time, let's talking about Facebook.
Yeah.
Now,
Facebook is ultra sensitive.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you can really say without them banning you. If for some reason, but like this stuff, they accept, which is crazy.
I don't have a comment for our governor, but I do have a comment for our LGBTQ siblings watching this show. I grew up very much in the church, going and living and breathing the church. And when it's election time or political time, they are very much telling all the followers of the church, it is your duty, it is your obligation to like, to share, to post, to comment, to vote. We are not ringing up our siblings and having them do the same thing. Right. When we see stuff like that, what are we doing? Are we liking? Are we commenting? Are we sharing? The reason they have 500,000 comments is because they're vigilant and diligently activating and promoting their agenda.
Yes.
Right,
We
what
need
you're
to do
saying
the
is that
same
it's
thing.
planned. It's
It is
absolutely
planned.
absolutely is.
But we need to support each other.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's all in the basis of unity, right? And now that we're in Pride Month and we're all feeling like extra excited about the opportunities that are coming our way because of Pride Month, it's a time to remember that unity that we need.
Yeah.
It's a time to remember that, like Misty said, we all have to band together and reshare, repost, comment, whatever the case may be, in order to further our movement.
Yes.
Trans is the news. Pose is gone. What's the future for transgender representation on TV? The category is
Live, work,
pose. Emmy winner Billy Porter's boisterous bravado soars through television screens and burrows deep into the viewer's ears in the introduction each and every episode of FX Pose. But they only got to hear it one more time. The series finale aired this week after 3 groundbreaking seasons. Pose will undoubtedly leave a hole when it comes to transgender representation on television. But transgender representation on TV is slowly but significantly improving. Trans actors and characters will appear across networks and streaming services, with more waiting in the increasingly inclusive wings. According to GLAAD's director of transgender representation, Nick Adams, even after Pose, 21 transgender characters remain on TV. Experts are bullish about the future of transgender representation, thanks to the examples set by Pose. University of Michigan's Lavelle Ridley said Pose has been the most undeniable catalyst for public conversations about the intersections of race, gender, and class in the United States today. And the hope is that the conversations continue until we begin to see sustainable justice for these marginalized communities. Pose was a shock and a revelation when it premiered 3 years ago, setting a new bar for transgender representation on television. S.A. Smith, professor at UCLA, suggests one show could not capture the experiences of an entire community. She said, quote, "The trans community is not a singular thing. Part of the beauty of being transgender is we know that there are so many ways to live, to exist, to love, and to breathe in this world. And it would be great if we had one more show about one specific city or one specific time frame than that to hang on to."
Yes.
End quote.
Yeah.
Completely. I just got so excited because I was thinking about when I was younger, how desperately I just wanted to see myself on TV.
Representation.
How I wanted to be in a movie, how for a brief period of time when I went to casting calls and thought I'll be in a commercial or something, I just never, it was always, heartbreaking for me because the rejection is so big. But to the point of the author from UCLA, we need to see that representation. We need to see the stories, the love, the heartbreak, all of those things really weave a tapestry of our community, and I agree, we need to see more of it.
I'm grateful to Pose for normalizing trans. They actually normalize trans in so many ways, and I think that they're aware of, like, it's okay for us to be educated, it's okay for us to own our own businesses, and it's okay for us to fail but get back up and lean on the community for our strength and for our resilience. So they normalize trans in so many ways, and I thank them for that. Thank you.
And also, Jazz, I Am Jazz, new season is coming up. So I love, because I don't see Pose, so I can comment about I can comment about I Am Jazz, and I think it's locally, and we have to support her new show and her family. And I love the show. I can understand and everything. Yes.
You can follow
Shout
the
out to
storyline.
Jazz and to Jeanette and the
Yes.
Mary Jennings family. Thank you for all that
Oh,
you
I
do.
love
But I want to go back to Pose for a second.
Yeah.
Right? Like, one of the comments that I heard over and over again, just from people in general, was that Pose wasn't as authentic as it could have been.
I don't know.
What do
thought
you
it was
think? What do you think about that?
absolutely authentic.
I disagree.
They educated the ally community on the purpose of calling another trans woman that may be in like age of me mom. So if they see me in the store and they call and I'm saying, "Ma, how do you like that dress?" It's not like a
Yeah, they get it.
they get it.
That's
They
your mom.
get it
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Like the purpose of community, and why do I call Rajee sister and Ariana and Schaffer sister? You get it now. It's not the dismantling of your original family. It's the support and the learned experience from one to another. So thank you for that. So it was not by far fake. It was all true, all fact.
Are there
It was
issues?
ultra good. No, I think what they did was Okay, when I was very young, Facts of Life came out.
Ooh.
Do you remember Facts of Life?
Yeah.
No, I don't
I
watch
was
Hawaiian.
young.
I don't
Okay.
watch Hawaiian Black TV.
The shade, Ariana. The shade.
Anyways, Facts of Life had a really good way of addressing and tackling the serious issues like suicide and drug use. And I remember it was very controversial because, oh my gosh, this is mainstream television. You can't talk about suicide.
Right.
You can't talk about drug use. And they talked about prostitution. They talked about sex work. They talked about illegal silicone. They talked about black market hormone replacement therapy. They talk about relationship with straight guys. Then they talked about tranny chasers. They talked about everything in our community. And once a month I do a BSO crisis intervention training for the police officers. And the lady that facilitates the event would watch the show, a cis straight woman, and she'd be like, okay, Misty, I have a question. This week in Pose. I'd be like, oh, girl. And I only watch it on Netflix. I don't pay for cable television. But I'm a trans woman. You don't think I make the money? Ariana Stenda's got the Louis Vuitton, not me. Just saying. But I'm like, no, that's very accurate. Very 100%. Yes, prostitution is real. Yes, all this is real.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, but I was just going to say, looking a finer look at that authenticity argument, I think also is maybe some folks just don't connect with the story, and that proves the point of this whole story that we just need to see more stories that people can connect to relate to.
That's true. I mean, they really hit on some really hard stuff. I think they had to make it like, kind of like put a bow on it for TV a little bit because it was the first
Introduction.
Yes, exactly. But they talked about like a lot of heavy stuff, and I loved it. I think it's a great start. I have to tell you, I watched the finale. It was so touching. I'm not going to be a
Don't spoil it
yeah,
for the rest of us.
I'm not going to be a spoiler, but what I will say is, when the credits were going down the screen,
Cried.
I felt a sadness, and I said, my God, I hope this opened the door and it will continue to remain open for us. It was a good start, but let's not stop. Come on, producers. We want more. We want more shows with trans in it.
As a child, one of my favorite movies was Silence of the Lambs. As an adult, first of all, I wanted to become an FBI agent because of this movie. As an adult, I rewatched it, and the fact that the serial killer was a transgender person infuriated me.
Yeah.
I wanted to cause a shitstorm. But that being said, they have a spin-off TV show called Clarice.
I heard of that, yeah.
So good. And I'm watching the episode, and there is a transgender woman playing a character in the show. And I'm watching it with my girlfriend, who's on a girlfriend, not my girlfriend, who's on the show.
I was going to say.
Walking to my girlfriend, and I'm like, oh my goodness, she's trans. Did you know she's trans? And she's like, oh, I didn't know she's trans. And so I'm like, I'm so glad there's a trans woman playing a cis woman who's not trans on the show. 2 episodes later, she comes out as trans. But Laverne Cox played an owner of a coffee shop, and she wasn't out as trans. She was just the owner of a coffee shop.
So we've evolved.
We have evolved.
So we've evolved.
Because remember Trans America? Felicity Huffman played a trans woman.
Well, that's what I
couldn't hire a real trans
understand.
woman.
Every time there was a trans story, they were getting
An ugly straight woman.
cisgendered
Yeah.
women
Or ugly her
a
up.
gay man. Remember Soldier's Boy? That was a great movie, but you know. So anyway, a little
Good
by
news,
little.
we've evolved.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
continue to evolve, and the representation continues to change on TV. And we're happy about that, and we are very sad to see Pose go. I can't wait to see the finale. Well, ladies, let's move on.
Yeah.
So at Translation, we examine what the trans community as people experience in our world. This next segment is called First Impressions of Trans People, What We Face. Translation hosts reflect on what the cis community does not understand in their first impressions of trans. And we're going to start with Schaffer. Tell us about what we face.
Well, I think it's important to say that we face first impressions all the time, that people have first impressions about who we are and how we are, and be patient. Take a moment, take a step back, get to know someone before you cast that judgment, and let's talk, let's have a conversation, let's get to know each other so we can better understand each other.
And watch Translation.
And watch Translation.
Rajee, you're next. Tell us about what we face.
Well, okay, let me just say this. Beauty's in the eyes of the beholder, and I don't have problems, attracting the men. Okay, it's like a smorgasbord, right? Maybe I'm someone's type, Misty someone, et cetera, et cetera. But today, I was in the Dollar Tree. Should I put them on blast? No. And there was a mother with her son, and he was probably about 8 years old. And when I was walking by, he said, "Ah, ugly."
Oh my God.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. And he kept saying it. And the mother didn't do a thing. And she's like, so honey, I became mama for a few minutes. I scolded him in front of his mother.
Yeah.
And I don't
Good,
care.
Rajee.
I told him, I said, you need to have some respect. You know how many years older I am? You're a child. I'm an adult. Have some respect. Then the mother wanted to tell me off because, this is my child. What are you doing? I said, well, you sure weren't doing what you were supposed to do as a mom. I said, and
That's how they go to jail.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on. He's being rude, and he kept doing it one time, but then he kept saying it, and he was screaming it loud in the store. And I'm like, and the mom, this is the thing that got me. He's a little boy, but the mother is an adult. Like, don't you treat your kids with some, teach them manners?
Clearly
and
not.
so, yeah, and I told her, I said, listen, if you don't get on him now, you're going to be visiting your son in prison.
Detention.
Oh, my Lord. I went off.
Good, Rajee. No, that's important. That's
Yeah.
important to have those teaching moments.
Yeah.
When we're given the opportunity, it's important for us to tell people exactly how we feel about whatever. You know what I mean? We often see all these parents that aren't necessarily, supporting their kids in the way that they should be supporting their kids. So kudos to you
Thank
for
you.
doing that today.
And thank you for having tough skin and taking that.
Yeah, thank you for not being brave.
Let me tell you, that mother looked like she wanted to sock me out. But I'm
dare her.
sorry. I got to teach. If you're not going to teach your little boy manners, I will teach
You will,
manners.
absolutely. Ariana, tell us about what we face.
We face, or I'm faced, in June 5th, 3 days ago, like last week, we celebrate 40 years of the first diagnosis of HIV in the United States. It's 40 long years, but also transgender as me, openly living with HIV, we are still in those 40 years, still looking for services, still looking for people who they can take care us as a human being. So that's why that is in my mind. I'm coming with my T-shirt and I say, this is how what is it?
This is what an HIV advocate looks like.
Can you say that
Yeah.
in English, please?
Well, that's to her because, but this is how a transgender woman openly living with HIV can advocate with no shame and with no regret about living healthy and doing some difference in the community, and that's why we need it. Again, it's 40 years of the HIV, a transgender community, we are still here.
Yes.
Kudos,
Representation
sister.
matters.
Yes.
Thanks for surviving, sister.
Thank you, my love.
And thanks for being open. Because there's still so much stigma,
Yeah.
and
You know,
you are strong.
Sometimes
to do
it's
that.
difficult for
Yeah, I
me each
know.
time, even in myself, hear or listen when they say I'm openly, but you know what? I think somebody have a mission in their life. And my mission in the life is breaking the stigma
Yes.
of a transgender living with HIV. Look me, I have a Louis Vuitton.
You look good.
I have a Louis Vuitton. I have the best hair, and I am a worldwide ambassador for the You Equal You campaign, what is people can not transmit the virus if you living healthy. So that's why it made me proud, but it's not only for my life, it's for everybody, for each transgender. So that's why. I don't want to be so deep.
Preach, diva.
Thank you, Ariana. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Camille, tell us about what we face.
I think because I just got my thought today, sitting at the table with all my beautiful sisters, and this message is specifically for our viewers, for our young translation viewers. Be your own kind of pretty. Be your own kind of beautiful. Be your own. And like Misty and I agreed upon, pretty does not mean passable, and ugly does not mean passable. If you're pretty on the inside, if you're pretty on the outside but ugly on the inside, what's going to come out? Ugly is going to come out. So to everyone at this table, be your own type of pretty. To myself, I speak that to myself. I speak that to you, Tony. To the tech team, everybody say what? I speak that to you too. Like, be your own type of pretty and be your own type type of beautiful and be authentically you no matter what. So yeah, that's what we're facing, because oftentimes we allow television, we allow magazines, we allow our peers to, we want to be that type of beautiful. We want that size of a breast, or we want to wear that type of hair, or we want to just mimic and mock when we should just be authentically us no matter what. Like everyone knows my joke. I'm tall. I can, I can massage Jesus' feet. So
I love
I
that.
have to get things made just for me, and I have to be me, and I have to be my own type of beautiful. So that's what we're facing today. I want to tell the viewers, be your own type of you, and be your own type of beautiful no matter what.
Thank you, Camille. And last but not least, Misty, what do we face?
Our community faces two-sidedness, two-faced people. Our community faces people treating you one way to your face, and then the second they realize you are transgender, night and day, completely changing every way that they're treating you. This could be from online dating profiles and people like, oh, baby, let me take you to a nice dinner. Oh, baby, let's go out. Let's go to the movies. Let's go to the play. Oh, you're transgender? You want fuck? I mean,
That's the truth, though.
that is the truth. But also, recently, I was in the hospital in December, and the nurse was so sweet to me for the first half hour until I denied a pregnancy test, because I'm like, trust me, I'm not pregnant. And then when the doctor came and was like, Misty, we give pregnancy tests to every every person between 16 and 76. And I'm like, doctor, I'm not pregnant. And then she realized I was transgender, and the nurse was so mean to me. So mean. So we face open to our face discrimination with people treating us completely different the minute they realize.
That is so true.
Thanks for sharing, ladies. These moments are so important because we are actively talking about the issues that have to be talked about. So thank you for sharing your personal stories. And up next, this is our trans issue of the week. Each week, we will focus on what we think the entire trans community is talking about. If the trans community is going to thrive, we must rely on allies. To generate allies, we must demystify the trans community. Often trans people get annoyed with the questions they are asked by the cis and LGBTQ community. So our translation issue of the week is 5 questions you should never ask a transgender person. So before we started today's broadcast, we came up with 5 questions. I'm going to read each of these questions, and each of our hosts will comment on them openly. So the first question that we should never ask a transgender person is, have you had bottom surgery?
The surgery. The surgery.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's none of your business. And to be honest, it's a double-edged sword. You're damn...
We know what you were about to say.
You're darned if you do, you're darned if you don't. There's no win. Either you have stigma because you have, or you have stigma because
Exactly.
you haven't.
Exactly. You all ever had this happen to you? You're walking across the room, maybe you're in a restaurant or somewhere, and you see the eyes go into your crotch.
Oh, of course.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I get that. And I'm like, thank God I tucked.
But you know what?
But no.
But it happened to me in the worst place ever, in the airport.
The airport?
The airport.
Oh.
I always thought, okay, I'm going to wear tight clothes. I'm going to put everything up, and I always get pulled to the side. So this particular time, I did not. I wore loose clothes, thinking like, they'll just run me through. Everything will look fine. I got the whole spiel. Can you step to the side? I'm going to touch you with the front of my hand, the palm of my hand. So she ran across something.
Yeah.
And I was like, transgender.
Oh, let me tell you, there's no shame in my
It's
game.
so
She was like,
terrible.
do you want to get searched in public? I said, I'm not transgender. This is something I'm talking between my kids.
It's a cheaters. It's a cheaters.
So my next time I was like, look, which
My words is really big.
I'm a proud non-op transsexual. I'm not trying to promote a fraud. I know what I have down there, and and I'm open about it. But it's just embarrassing when it's
it was embarrassing
Yeah.
You go
because
to the airport right now, it's a machine. So it's yellow, and you can put red. You can see the screen, and if you see red. So all the time when I don't talk, I say, oh my God, they don't get red in the legs. They don't get red in the legs.
So the clerk, when you walk up to the scanner and you have to do this, they put male or female for scan.
Right.
And usually they're like, oh, that's a woman. So they don't barely look at you. Come through, ma'am. And then it goes, "Brr." They have the big, because it's registering something that should not be.
Right.
So you trying to say that wasn't passable?
He would, no.
You was
No,
Diva.
Diva.
Not passable?
Girl, please. Girl, you passed as a woman, and that did not compute. They put you down as fish.
Every time I go through TSA, they're like, ma'am, there's some inconsistency with your body image.
Penis.
And then she kept pressing on my breast like, we have to make
You
sure
were
you're not
supposed to
carrying
scream out.
anything in there.
Well, girl, they are not.
Hold on. You were supposed to scream ouch each time they mash.
Because the key point of this conversation is you don't have to tell to a transgender person what is in middle.
It's none of your business.
And it's not
Yeah.
your business.
It's none of
This
your
is
business.
totally private.
Yeah.
We don't walk up to cis people and say, are you cut?
Aren't cut.
Oh, I know.
You have 5 inches or you're black, so 7, 8? How
I
big's
have
your
no
dick?
words. I have no words.
Not at all.
I have no words. I have no
Why
words.
is-
Question, please.
Yes, next question is,
Next question.
this is a really interesting one.
We're
How do
obviously-
you have sex?
Upside down like a bat.
Okay, let's make it clear. I'm a basement bottom. So anyway.
You said basement bottom? Teach me.
I'm a bossy
basement
bottom.
What is a basement? Teach me.
I don't know what basement means.
Well, basement means
Only
really
bottom?
low and bottom.
I'm a bossy bottom.
Yeah.
But it is none of your business.
Right.
You
Yeah,
don't need to
exactly,
know how I have
exactly.
sex. Are you the
I mean,
man
unless
or you the woman?
Unless you're getting in bed with me, then,
Right.
then we need to know.
We need to
course,
have that
that is a
conversation.
key.
My husband?
Yes,
No,
that's an excellent point, though. It's
Yes,
none of your
that is
business.
It's none
it's
of
not
your
a
business at all.
Nothing in the bed is your business.
Yes.
It's
And
also
what I-
back to, have you had the surgery?
Yeah.
You use it?
Yeah.
Both
Oh
questions
yes, baby,
are.
play with her.
Or if you have those biggest that ask that question, then I said, just like you. How else? Just like you. I have sex just like you.
Tony, you in
Passionate.
kindergarten over here.
Listen, I thought I had a really great understanding of
Oh,
my trans
Lord.
family, but I learn something new every week.
As you should.
We're very
As I
shy.
should.
We're very
After
shy.
translation.
Listen, I think I could say this. I call it my extra long clitoris.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, really. I mean, like that. It's all how you look at things, you know? So.
Men's love.
What's the next
Yeah.
question?
So the
Next
next
question.
question, ladies, what's your real name?
Misty.
John Jacob Jingleheimer Smith. His name is my name too.
It's on my birth
Whenever I go
certificate.
out, the
My birth-
people always shout. I can't put my middle finger up, but that was for you.
Misty is my real name.
And you know what? Rajendra is my real name. And I can't stand when I go somewhere and I show my ID and they're looking at me like, oh, how did you come up with this name? Like, it's my birth name. It's an Indian name. So,
Wow.
you know, yeah,
Great.
yeah. I didn't make that up. Yeah,
And it's
so.
also important to, this is a topic that many people have different opinions on. For me, I don't like the term dead name to refer to a name that is a part of who I am. Schaffer is my middle name. David is my first name. And I'm proud of that name. It's a name and a person who still exists within me. It's just my identity is Schaffer, and I'm a trans woman.
I
but
love it.
for some, it brings up trauma, it brings up pain. And so when people ask that, it's you don't know what's on the other end of that.
Yeah, but
so
what's
you have
your
to be
real
careful.
name?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I see this name, but what name did your mother name you? John Jacob. His name, like,
Here we go
why?
again. Here we go again. So let's move on to the next question. So, hey girl, where do you perform?
That is a gay question.
No,
That is a-
straight people too. In
No.
Jones Fabrics, I was with a client who was going to be one of my bridesmaids, and we were talking about dresses, and she held up fabric who's not a drag queen, and some lady in the store was like, "Oh, where do you do shows?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it
No,
all the time.
I went to the neighborhood and I had on jeans, a nice shirt. I had I think I had on a baseball cap, like, very calm and laid back for drinks and dinner. And I got this, yes, mama, where are you going?
That's a gay thing. That's a gay thing.
Living my life.
What?
Yeah.
Don't you see a menu in my feminine hands?
What? Yeah.
My petite and delicate
My
feminine
petite
hands.
and- I have a menu in my hand.
Well,
but I'm not going
let's
to.
I mean, that's so funny. But let me tell you, let's remember the days when, like, we were accepted in the LGBTQ community only when we were on stage.
That is very true.
Like, it's like, ooh, don't say hi to me out in the street, but oh yes,
Yeah.
throw
There are
the dollars
fans in the bar.
Yeah,
Strangers
exactly.
on the street. It's
Right.
Yeah,
And-
so they always do. You get it too.
I get it. And for some of these things, I think it's lessening the blow of someone else's kind of not understanding of how to talk about it. Like they think if they break the ice and name it, then
Yeah.
they're making it better somehow. But really, they're just kind of, it's a self-serving thing.
And
They want to know.
I meet amazing showgirls who they doing a lot of talent.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I feeling like aggressive question for me because I don't have that talent, you know.
Yeah.
And transgender, yes, a transgender they can be. I have a
So
profession.
you can't
you know?
oogie
Yes,
in the dance
so
floor.
I think transgender they can be anywhere. You cannot
Right.
just place in beauty salon.
But you belong in the bar, girl. You
Yes.
belong there. That's where you belong.
Oh,
belong on the
I
dance
drink
floor.
and drunk over there. That's it. But
Well, ladies, you know that for me, like, as you know, I'm a dedicated trans ally and advocate. I work for a wonderful organization, Ariana Center, that does this work day in and day out. And I, as
what is the real name?
of Ariana Center? That's
The real name.
The real name of Ariana Center is Ariana Center, people.
You're welcome.
Yes, you're welcome. So I wanted to say something. This has happened in my presence, and it's always so embarrassing for me as a cisgender gay guy that's standing there witnessing this kind of thing, because I think some people think that this is a positive thing. Oh, where do you work? Where can I see you perform? Like somehow they're giving you a compliment, and it's such a
It's not a
hateful
compliment.
thing. It's such a hateful thing.
Yeah.
It is.
For me, I'm not offended because I did 23 years of that was my only job.
Well, and Misty, to your
Yeah.
point, I always look at the performers, the stage performers, as such talented people. So I never took it as like a insult, but it's just like, oh my God, we don't all perform
Not all
on
trans people do
stage. You know, I've never been a showgirl. I'm an actress, I'm an author, but I've never been a showgirl.
But sometimes it's just okay to say, hey, girl, hey.
yeah.
That's it.
Right.
Mama, you look sickening. That's it.
And
girl.
That's
leave
it.
at
And
that.
leave it like that.
Sickening, no?
Is that all of them?
Sickening, no?
On that note, we move on, and next up, we're going to play a game and learn a bit more about our hosts. We call this Translation Game of the Week. Tonight's game is called Truth or No Dare. Before the show, each host wrote down something that is true about them and something that is not true about them. I'm getting ready to read a card as our other hosts guess what was the truth.
Should we guess at the
ready?
end? Should we guess at the end, or do you want to do it like last time? We should guess at the end, right?
Yeah, we can guess at the end.
And please, all this time, do not sing my name like you
Live, work, pose! Exactly. So let's do this. Let's do this. I'm
Let's
excited
do
about
it.
this. Okay. I'm excited about the game. So, true, I am the oldest of 7, and I was an overseas missionary.
I know. And I know.
False, I love skydiving.
Oh,
Okay.
wait a minute.
So that's 1. The next one is truth, I am an attorney. False, she doesn't speak English.
Everybody knows.
Busted!
Wait, we're not guessing yet. Who could that be?
All right, all right.
That sounds like
All right.
No, that's not Ariana.
Next one. Truth. I can't sleep with my back to windows and doors. And false. I've never kissed a girl. True. I'm a twin. Not true. I was featured in a baby food commercial as a kid.
I see you, Gerber.
Misty the Gerber baby.
All right. And the next one, true. A boyfriend's wife came home while we were doing the do.
Oh.
And I had to jump out the window.
El Scandalo.
Escándalo.
Oh, wow.
False. I married my second cousin before I transitioned.
Oh, that
Wow.
whole card is scandalous, baby.
Wow.
That's not true. That's not.
Wow. So let's go back. Let's go back. Who do we think is the oldest of 7 and was an overseas missionary? I'm shocked by this, and I know this
I
person
think
well.
that is actually Misty.
I did too.
For the sky.
Because she's
Yeah.
a Bible
and
scholar, right?
and
right,
loves skydiving.
Yeah.
You are
The
The skydiving threw me off.
Right.
skydiving is not true.
Oh, it's yes, right. I was like, how do I know Misty so well? I've never
You have
listened
to
to you
say
skydive.
the truth and the not true.
Yeah, yeah.
Misty, they knew it was you. You were the missionary.
I'm the
apparently.
Yeah.
They knew. So, who in our group is an attorney? And the false, she doesn't speak English.
It's false.
Speak English very good. Very good looking.
Your English is very good.
Very good looking.
Very good looking.
Very good looking.
That's why we keeping the rating up.
So who's? Oh, wait, of course, I was Ariana. Of course. So who can't sleep? Whose truth is they can't sleep with their back to windows and doors, and their false is I've never kissed a girl because apparently they've kissed girls.
I think it's Schaffer.
I think it's Camille.
Yeah. Camille.
You all know each other.
It
well.
is?
Yes, I cannot sleep with my back to windows.
Wow.
Camille.
I thought that.
Of course, I've kissed a girl before.
That's why
I kissed my mother.
And you liked it.
I've kissed a lot of girls. Who did it? I went to college, you guys. That's something we do in college.
So, and whose truth is I'm a twin, and not truth. I was featured in a baby food commercial as a kid. That's an elaborate not truth.
I know who that is because they
That's
told me that
gotta
they
be
were a
Rajee.
twin. No, it's
Rajee.
not. It's Schaffer.
Schaffer?
I am a twin.
How did you
You're
come
a
with a
twin,
lie you already gave me?
I didn't-
I guess because that's what I wished I had been in a commercial when I was a child, and so that was my lie.
I'm sensing a
Oh.
trend here.
Yes.
This whole acting, modeling thing. It's
Ryan
coming,
Murphy, I'm
Schaffer.
coming for you. Yes.
Yes, exactly. And Rajee,
You have to
jumped
read that
out of a
card
window
one more time.
Story time.
because you were doing the do, and someone's
Doing the
girlfriend came home.
You jumped out the window.
He lied to me. He didn't
How many
tell me he
floors
was
first?
married. He told me he was living with a roommate. We're in the middle of doing
a
our
roommate.
thing in his bed, and we start hearing the keys jingle.
Oh!
And it was like, oh my God. He's like, oh my God, it's my wife. I'm like, your wife? What the hell? I'm like, my God. I'm grabbing I put on my dress. I'm grabbing my shoes and my purse. And he's like, I'm sorry, baby. You got to go out the window.
How many floors?
Yeah, how many
Rajee?
floors?
No, thank God it was the first floor. Because, honey, that would have been a hot mess. If I
I
now
wish I
I'm
was a
curious.
neighbor.
Has
Yes.
anyone else jumped out of a window?
No, never.
I have.
I was in the closet.
Tony.
In the closet for 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, my God.
This table is El Scandalo.
Escandalo.
Yes.
Escandalo. And now we know each other a little bit better.
So well.
And probably TMI.
Yes, a little bit
that's
too.
yeah.
but-
Too much information.
We're very shy.
So next up, Translation will bring you some of the best celebrities, business leaders, trans advocates, and more that are so important to the trans community.
We call this special interview guest, Who's Coming to Dinner? Guest Who's Coming to Dinner. Sorry, I can't even read. And tonight we bring you one of the top trans advocates in the world, Ariana L. Lester, Deputy Director, Transgender Strategy Center.
Ariana is one of America's most recognized names for trans community advocacy. In addition to her work for Washington, D.C. based Transgender Strategy Center, she is a founder of Trans Miami. Ariana opened Miami-Dade's first transgender resource center.
She has served the LGBTQ and trans community in so many ways, including a board member of AIDS United, advisory board member of Unity Coalition, and former director of National Trans Visibility March. She is an LGBTQ marketing expert and the former chief brand officer of Ariana Center.
We are so happy to speak to Ariana Lester
Word,
today.
she looks
Welcome,
beautiful.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking the time to do this
Looks
very
gorgeous.
important show for us. You're actually our first interview, and we're excited that it's you, Ariana. We all love you very, very, very much. And just listening, I mean, I know you well, and listening through your bio, you've kind of done it all. What got you started in advocacy and gender equity?
I think what got me started is what got all of us started. I'm sure most of the ladies at the table that I do know and love, it was out of a need. You know, I traversed life, learned what was available as one, a Black person, as two, a trans person, and as a woman as well. And then coming to Miami, I found out there was a dearth of resources that were not available to me and people that look like me. So it was just like, well, I have some skills, I have some background, let me do what I can. And then just kind of fell into the work and then started building up my career and infrastructure and things like that afterwards.
You know, you mentioned race and the intersections that make up the beautiful Ariana Lester. So how do you navigate the world as a Black woman of trans experience? Talk to us about that a little bit.
Well, I kind of like how that phrase is parsed out. I've used the analogy of if I'm 3 blocks away, the only thing you can really identify me with is my skin color. You know that that's a darker skinned person. As I come closer, you then pick up my feminine traits and like, okay, well, this is a feminine presenting individual. And then lastly, when I get closer, you might clock me and see that I'm trans. And so those are the three intersectionalities, but Black is always what's led because living in our society, living in America, being a descendant of enslaved individuals, that's just something that you're going to deal with every day. And that's something that's not just a trans thing, but yet trans people, Black trans people, are the highest murdered, the lowest lifetime expectancy, and just a group that goes through the worst of homelessness and unemployment. And I've been through all of that, but we do have a tenacity and a resiliency that allows us to rise above that, which will level other normal, regular people.
All right, you mentioned some of the issues that afflict the trans community at alarming rates. Tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing with the Transgender Strategy Center.
Well, I've been with the Transgender Strategy Center since its inception. We've been around for over 3 years now, and what we have are different ways of injecting just power and elevation to the trans community. One, through our corporate work. We have worked with Gilead Sciences, Amazon, and different entities in bringing what I call organic inclusion within the workplace, intertwined throughout all the levels of a corporation, from onboarding to management to client services or direct services, or just how your product and how you really advertise things to certain audiences. We also have a leadership development arm where we empower currently a group of transgender women of color to really just gain the tools necessary to bring that idea to something that is tangible. We had an individual start her own organization, hire her first people going through our program, and then we offer technical assistance and capacity building for free to trans-led organizations around the country.
What's your favorite aspect of the work that you do, Araya?
The impact. It's the impact that really just pushes me, like the success that I just said about one of our graduates, or the successes that I see Camille or Ariana have, and knowing that you were there along the journey with them, and just seeing on all of the labor and the blood and the sweat and the tears actually made these individualized triumphs within other people's lives is what pushes me.
I love to hear that, and you've been very impactful for me as an LGBTQ advocate as a whole. You were one of the first people to really bring me into this path of allyship that I hold so very dear, and I thank you for that. But tell us what's
You're
next.
welcome. I remember the horses. There was some horses over by.
we were yes, you were giving a training and there were horses all around somewhere in rural Miami-Dade County.
Yeah.
But Araya, what's next? What's next for Araya Lester?
What's next? Well, this Friday I'll be speaking for Beam Therapeutics, who is a CRISPR corporation. I don't know if you know about CRISPR and the gene editing technology. Look that up if you have not heard of it.
That sounds like another interview altogether, Araya.
Yeah.
We'll have to have you back.
So I'm really diversifying and pushing a lot into corporate America. And really bringing the trans lens into things outside of the normal kind of avenues that we look at.
Fantastic. Araya, thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight.
You're welcome.
We thank you for your activism, for being the amazing person that you are, and thank you for being our first interview on Translation.
Thank you. You're welcome.
We'll see you very soon here at home in Miami.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Araya. Next up, the mission of Translation is to give our beautiful trans community the voice they deserve. So this is our segment called What's on Your Mind? I'm going to ask each of the unique and diverse hosts to tell us what we should be thinking about this week. Here we go. We're going to start off with Shay. Schaffer, what's on your mind?
What's on my mind is that there are many out there that want us to be divided. There are many out there that want us to battle and fight each other. But no matter where you're sitting and watching this conversation, or if you're not watching this conversation at all out there, I'm here to tell you that we can do this together. We can come together and truly transform the world, because we don't have to be enemies. We can be allies together.
Thank you, Shay. That's beautiful. Rajee, you're next. What's on your mind this week?
Well, I got two things on my mind. One is I'm going to probably go to Burger King after this and get that. I'm sorry, I'm hungry, y'all. But hey, I'm just being truthful. So I'll probably get a chicken sandwich on the way home. But on a serious note, I'm thinking about the people in Myanmar. They're going through so much right now. And you know, it's amazing. I think the lesson for us human beings is just to be able to accept one another for our differences, because whether it's gender or race or class or religion, there's always something, you know, like if you look around the world. And so I just hope, I don't know if I'll live to see it, but that one day we'll truly come together as human beings. You know, those people in Myanmar, they're really dealing with some horrible things. The Muslim minority is basically experiencing genocide by the Buddhist majority, and that's religion. But then you can go anywhere. In Ireland, all white Irish people, but it's Protestants and the Catholics. And Africa, Rwanda was that horrific thing that happened in the 90s. All African people, but because I'm on one tribe and you're on another, I'm going to kill you. So we just have to come together. Boy, I really went from chicken sandwich to genocide,
yes.
But that's how my mind is.
But your message is so far based in unity, which is so important during these times. Ariana, what's on your mind this week?
Oh my God. Well, what is in my mind is Sunday was the election in my country. I am Peruvian, as you know. And the sadly part was not even one of the two parties, they invisibilize the LGBT community and they don't mention the gender identity. And I'm over here sitting in the United States in this program just to show to the world what is a gender identity in one country means, because United States give me the opportunity to be Ariana, give me the opportunity to work day by day harder and have a quality of life. So that is my mind. I am the best example when one country rejects you because your gender identity, and how you can develop an amazing life in one country, even with few problems, right, or few issues for transgender, but helping and openly and appreciate the work and the talent who they deserve. So that is in my mind.
Thank
you understand?
Yes.
Yes. Misty, you're up next. What's on your mind this week?
So first, what's on my mind is that so many transgender youth are bullied so severely that they drop out of high school. They do not graduate. They do not go to college. If they do graduate and do go to college, they are often bullied so fiercely out of college that they quit and drop out. How many trans people do we know with a degree? Not a lot. But in 6 weeks, I will have my bachelor's in management and supervision.
Congratulations.
Business degree fish.
Oh, Misty.
And word, professional woman. And I am actually considering going to grad school, and I have been accepted into the executive program of the MBA. Executive fish for real. The executive MBA program at FAU. And now if I can get my ducks in a row and financial aid all approved and things, Oral Roberts University messed up a lot of my financial aid things.
Yeah.
And if I can get all that squared away, I'm going to be going to my MBA program in August.
Oh, my
God.
That's what's on my mind.
Oh, congrats.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Camille, what's on your mind this week?
Well, again, it's just from my message earlier, being authentically you. And Rajee, you spoke about being authentically you. Sis Schaffer, you talked about manning together and being your own and being who you are together. And sis, you're talking about just being authentically you here in the country, and you passed all adversities and you made it possible. Now you just up your degree fish. So I think I just have to continue to push my message from earlier and tell tell the viewers to continue to be authentically you, and you too can have what we're sharing up here on this table, whether it's notoriety for being authentically you and sharing your experience about your surgeries and things like that, or you just getting your degree and making it possible. I too want to go back to school and get my degree, and just by hearing you talk about it,
You can do it.
I can do it. So what's on my mind is just pushing the initiative and what I said earlier, and telling the viewers to be authentically you and be your own kind of pretty.
Beautiful.
Up next, we are going to do a lightning round of some of trans topics in the news. We call this segment Trans Poppin' Fresh. So we are going to tell you a headline in the news this week and discuss it. But there is a twist. We, as a group, only get to discuss this topic for 1 minute. And if you dominate that whole minute, only one person talks. Do you guys understand?
Yes.
Understand.
All right.
All right, so let's get started. It's June Pride Month, and the trans community was surprised the county and home of our former president has its most prominent bus route focusing on the trans community. So Trans Poppin' Fresh headline, world's first Progress Pride public bus debuts in Palm Beach County.
I want them to ride past Trump's house.
Over and over and over.
Horn so loud and play Diana Ross, I'm coming out. And I want them to ride past his house and just blare it. But thank you, Palm Beach. Thank you for being vigilant and not afraid.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
You know, because anytime I see something like that, I think about the shame that I grew up with. You know, I think our community, LGBTQ people, we grow up with a lot of shame. You know, shame for, you know, our families not accepting us and the community not accepting us and being bullied in school and being ashamed of who we are. And so when I see something like that, it just makes me feel extra proud. And I want to be on that bus. I'd like to, hey, listen, I drive, but I'd like to take a ride on the bus.
Especially in the public transportation, where is the more danger for transgender individuals. So
Yeah.
breaking
Yeah.
that when this initiative, they break the stigma or the danger for transgender being in public transportation.
One of my trans clients was raped at a bus stop.
Oh my God.
Wow. You know, something that you said hit me, Rajee, because I posted something this week on my Instagram. It was a meme that said that as queer people, we grow up with a lot of shame, and we take most of our adult lives to dismantle that shame and really figure out who we are.
I agree.
It's true. We really do. It's a journey to be able to walk with our heads up high. And I'm sorry, I'm such a crybaby sometimes. But no, you saying that, it's just so true. So everyone, just stand up and be proud of who you are. And I mean, for me, it was just such a journey. Like, it took a while.
And peace, love, and blessings.
And it's okay.
You are a blessing.
You are a blessing.
I'm sorry.
But we are all on our journeys, and it takes us all a different amount of time because we're all unique individuals, right? So thank you for sharing that, Rajee. What is it about ignorance? It seems that hate and ignorance goes hand in hand. So we laughed and cried this week with the election audit going on in Arizona, but not for all of the obvious reasons. So Trans Poppin' Fresh headline, Arizona election audit leader complains wearing pink makes him look, quote, like a transgender. What does that even mean?
Excuse me, sir, your transphobia is showing.
Yes, and you look like Pepto-Bismol, not, quote, like a transgender, okay?
Wearing blue
How does
makes me
a
look
tie?
masculine.
How does a tie make you like a transgender? Like, look how you say a transgender.
Look
Yeah,
at
but-
A transgender.
He's not happy in the
transgender,
long
what?
relation because
Right.
you don't know how gorgeous is a man wearing pink.
Oh,
it's
I
beautiful.
love- I
It looks
love
so-
when-
it looks so
Oh,
good.
it's so beautiful.
And they don't realize how much work we put in. This isn't just an overnight thing. You don't go to bed one gender and then in the morning wake up another gender. We work at this.
Can you
I mean,
imagine
if it
if
was
that easy?
as simple as me putting on a pink shirt, honey, I would have.
You look like a transgender.
I wouldn't have gone as
What
much.
he meant he feels like a woman. He doesn't look like one.
I wonder if he has panties on under that.
Those are the
Yes.
ones. Those are the ones.
Those of the
That
ones.
goes there.
I'll protest you like dog.
Show me the panty.
On that note, it's Pride Month, meaning parties, parades, celebration, and more. But in the midst of all this happiness for the LGBTQ community, there is also some reality setting in. Watch this.
150 bills aimed at the LGBTQ community have been introduced in state legislatures this year, according to the Human Rights Campaign. Why 2021, and how does Florida's new law fit into that picture?
I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons that we're seeing this escalation of attacks on the LGBTQ community, and particularly on the trans community. It's part of a continued backlash from marriage equality. So when the Supreme Court struck down bans on marriage for same-sex couples in 2015, you immediately saw a backlash in the form of legislative attacks on trans people and trans youth in particular. There was a little bit of a lull in state legislatures during the 4 years of the Trump administration, where I think you saw less urgency from, far right state governments, because they knew that they had the federal government on their side to be the main discriminator against LGBTQ people. Then what we see in 2020 is sort of this perfect storm where you have the election of Joe Biden and a backlash to that. You also have in June of 2020, the Supreme Court issuing a landmark opinion, making clear that LGBTQ people are covered under existing civil rights statutes. So that's another area where you have this incredibly important Supreme Court decision, much like the marriage equality decision, that it also leads to backlash.
So Trans Poppin' Fresh headline, Pride 2021 has set a record in anti-trans bills in America.
It's been said, Al said it right here on this program, that trans is the wedge issue. This is out of fear. This is an overcorrection for a more progressive and liberal government. Tides turning towards equality and representation, and they will do anything and everything in election year and beyond to suppress our vote and suppress our community.
We are the topic now.
Right.
We are.
But I think this is a call to action for our cisgender allies.
Yes.
To pull us up and bring us in the room, because you are in the room. Okay, you don't want the freakish tranny in the room. Okay, gotcha. Boom, we're not in the room. Okay, but my cisgender brother is in the room. My ally is in the room. And it's a call to action for them to let them know, like, hey, these girls and guys aren't as bad as you think they are. Like, it's time. That's the call to action for them to step up.
I'm getting whiplash. I feel like we're going 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
I agree.
I still feel like we have so much progress, but also we keep getting slapped in the face as we're going forward.
And that's what happens politically, and that's why we have to stay steadfast and strong. Because every time there's a change in administration, there's a new agenda that is followed, and someone is chosen to hate. And right now, it's the trans community. So we all have to just continue doing what we're doing. It's always a trans community. Yeah. But right now, it's become the single most important wedge issue from the conservatives.
It has.
So that's why we do what we do. Well, that's it. Translation. This unique forum is a first ever experiment to bring the trans community voice forward. Whether politics, healthcare, mental health, entertainment, and the countless other streams of the trans community and your lives. Translation will be here to explore it all. To talk about it, we end tonight's show with what we call Translation Challenge. To simply help the trans community, you have an opportunity to say goodnight, to remind us how incredible the world of trans really is. First and foremost, a good night from Rajee Narinesingh.
Well, I want to thank everyone for watching again. And there's a saying I heard a long, long time ago, and I think it was written by an anonymous person. And basically it says, fear came to the door and knocked. Faith opened the door and there was nothing there. And I just want to tell people out there in our community, like, don't let the fear paralyze you, because I let it paralyze me for a while, and there were moments where I would go to the supermarket and sit in my car for like a half an hour trying to get the courage up to get out and go on the market, because I was scared about what people were going to say, how they were going to react to me. But what I found is that when I pushed through and I worked through that fear and I became more confident, that's when people started to respect me more. It's almost like the sheep in a wolf's den. They can, they pounce on you when you're walking like this with your head down and you're feeling bad about yourself. But if you walk with your head up high, believe me, there's gonna be respect for you and love for you.
Thank you, Rajee.
Yeah.
Now a good night from Schaffer Zaret.
So I'm right here living my dream every single time we do this. So it's a dream come true for me. I don't want you to forget about your dream. And when we think about our dreams, we can connect and unite as allies. You may not know me or all about me, but what I know is that you have a dream and there's something you want to do, and together we can do it.
Thank you, Shay. A good night from Ariana Lint.
Oh my God. For me, I want to say thank you so much to the whole people who debuted, stalked me on the street and made me pictures and everything. But also, I want to say, this is a gift for you. Really, really, everybody trying to coming over here and give the best of the personality and the own self, internal self, so you can knows better. This is the table where is diversity. This is the table where is real, and this is the table where is we are so comfortable made this show just to you understand and know us better. We are not the problem. We are the solution together. Thank you and buenas noches.
Thank you, Ariana. A good night from Camille Lewis.
At the close of Pose, we all were saddened, but allow us, Translation, to come into your room. I'm pretty sure you found someone on Pose that you connect with, and I'm pretty sure at this table right here, you will find someone that you can connect with on an even more personal level. So translation is very important, and I am super proud to be a part of this, and I hope that you all see something in me. I'm just saying. But no, thank you for watching Translation, and have a beautiful trans night.
Thank you, Camille. And last but not least, Misty.
My favorite Bible verse, Galatians 3:28. There is neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, male nor female, for we are all children of Christ Jesus. I don't know why we are so obsessed with race, and I don't know why we are so obsessed with gender, because God does not see race or gender. And I want to thank you for watching Translation today, because hopefully you can see a beautiful, varied community in front of you, different ages, different races, different ethnic backgrounds, different language vocabularies. We are all different. We are all amazing, and we are all beautiful. Some of us might be attracted to women. Some of us might be attracted to men. We are a varied community, and nobody is the same. And I want you to see that some of our celebrity trans people are not the only representation of us as a trans community. And thank you so much for watching Translation. We need people like you. Look in the mirror and say, I am awesome, I am amazing, and I am beautiful. And thank you for watching.
Thank you, Misty. For me, week after week, it's such an honor to sit here with all of you and share space and learn. Every week, as I said earlier, I learn something new. And I love that in your comments, our viewers can see that this really is a labor of love. We're here because we want to educate. We want to break those barriers. We want to reduce prejudice. So thank you all for sharing yourselves, sharing your lives with us. And I just love being here with you.
We love you.
Thank you. Well, that's it. And a special good night from Ariana Center, the sponsors of Translation. It's our honor to be able to really sponsor this beautiful, beautiful endeavor.
We need your help to support this broadcast. We invite you to reach out to sponsor, to like, to share this amazing show. Are you going to help the trans community?
Hey, L's, G's, B's, and Q's, are you going to support your T's? If you believe trans rights are human rights, then Translation is for you.
Share this broadcast, talk about it, like it, and tell the entire LGBTQ community and our allies there is something new.
Fox News cannot be the only voice. The trans community deserves more. We hope you agree. If you do, we will see you every Monday night at 9 p.m. providing Translation. Good night.
Bye. Love, peace, and blessings.